fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 47. Our favorite movie actors/actresses will be our main discussion for the day. But first of all, welcome back, Josh. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm sorry last week was a little bit crazy. A lot went on. Jeez, man. I don't think I worked a shift yet last week that was under 10 hours, so I was a beat young man.
Yeah, my estimations are we're still at work by the time I was done recording.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. That was the big problem last week was like, because we were going to record Tuesday, and I screwed up on my timing. And then we were going to record Wednesday night, and then I realized I had accidentally agreed to a double that night, and I was like, ah, dang.
Which, the only downside to that was just like, I like having you on so I can get water breaks or catch my breath.
Yeah.
So I lasted longer than the last time it was just me. I think it was an hour and 15 minutes last week, but now we can take breaths when you speak. And yeah, it's just nice to have somebody to play off of again. And nice to have you back. Before we get into the news and our general discussion for this week, Josh and I both, I saw the movie last week, and Josh finally got to see it because it was on DC Universe now. Both of us are huge comic book fans, as you know, and both of us are huge fans of the comic storyline Batman Hush. So naturally, we were very much looking forward to the animated film Batman Hush that just came out. So we're going to kind of give our general thoughts and discussion on that before we dive into the news. Josh, give your spoiler-free impressions of the movie. It's as spoiler-free as you can go.
I didn't mind the animation as much as I thought I was going to. Voice acting was, in my opinion, spot on. I think the guy that does the voice for Batman is the one that you don't like.
Yes, I hate Jason O'Mara. That being said, I think this is the best he's sounded as Batman.
Absolutely. And I was like,
he's still one of my least favorite animated Batmans, but he was good in this incarnation.
Yes. I mean, it definitely helped that he got a certain suit.
I'm not going to lie. When he got that suit at the beginning of the movie, I popped so hard for that.
Oh, same. Also, I really enjoyed Dick and Alfred in this. They are so fun to be around.
I'm still, maybe just because I'm clinging to my Jason McCartney and my Neil Patrick Harris versions of Nightwing, but I'm still not overly sold on Sean Mayer, who voiced Nightwing in all these New 52 movies. He was good in it. That being said, in terms of all the recent DC animated stuff, this is by far the best Nightwing suit.
Yes, I really enjoy this, the suit design and the hair that's like in between the short and the mullet. That's like that in between hair that they've been doing. I really enjoy it. The changes that they make to the story, some are good, some are very disappointing.
I'm assuming you think the disappointing one is the big one at the end.
The finale is very disappointing to me. I feel like that was an easy cop-out. Instead of going, with who Hush is actually supposed to be and what all that.
It felt like it was just tricking the diehard fans of the comic just for the sake of tricking them.
Because I was sitting here going, okay, at any point, they're going to pull the carpet out from under us. Because to be quite fair, if they did pull the carpet out from under us with that ending, and it still ended up being who it was supposed to be, I would have been very surprised because they were selling it quite hard. But the changes with the opening, I didn't mind. I felt like that was the same kind of scenario.
They got the spirit right. I don't know why they switched out Bane for Killer Croc. No, Killer Croc for Bane, I mean. But
yeah, I didn't mind it though. It was the big thing. Like
the tone was still like the spirit of the story was still there.
Exactly. Like what needed to happen still happened. What needed to be gotten across was still gotten across.
Although there's some key elements, and I'll go into what I thought of the finale in a little bit here, but there's certain key things that are important to the story of Hush that I thought were very odd by their exclusion in the movie. So for those of you who know the comic, Hush is a great story in and of itself, but it also kind of acts as a prequel to my other favorite Batman story, Under the Red Hood. There is absolutely no connection to Under the Red Hood at all in this.
I did catch a line from Joker, actually, where he's like, "Who's Robin? Who's Robin now?"
Yes, but the original Hush story very much leaves the door open for Under the Red Hood. There was like no real hints to that being the case.
Yeah, and I think that's because they're as far as I can tell, they're operating under the assumption, and maybe that's why they changed certain things. They're operating under the assumption that Under the Red Hood is in the main story continuity, as far as animation movies go.
I don't think so, because Under the Red Hood, as weird as it is to say, came out 8 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I'm
before
aware.
this new timeline that they're really sticking to their guns with, even though they really shouldn't.
That's fair.
So, my big issue with the movie, it deals with the finale, obviously. I wasn't as disappointed with the finale as some others, primarily just because I had it spoiled for me going into it, so I was kind of already expecting that going into it. I'll put up a quick spoiler warning right now because it is going to be hard for me to describe my frustration without saying what the twist is. So if you care, spoiler alert, but in the original comic, Hush, the villain, who the whole story is based off of, is one of Bruce Wayne's childhood friends named Thomas Elliot, who's working alongside Riddler. In this movie, Riddler is Hush, just straight up. Thomas Elliot is killed for real halfway through the movie, which was a big red herring in the original story. That was disappointing. Not Mandarin disappointing in Iron Man 3, but disappointing nonetheless.
Yeah.
The big thing that I was really frustrated with, actually, believe it or not, was in the original story, Riddler knows who Batman is. He knows he's Bruce Wayne. But Batman tells him straight up, you're not going to tell anybody who I am, and you never will, because you know the answer to the world's greatest riddle. And if you tell anyone, the world knows the answer, and that means it's no longer a riddle. And I love that Batman was able to beat Riddler that way, using his brain. And in the movie, he just beats him up and he falls into a fire because Catwoman cut his line. I don't like that near as much because it shortchanges the genius of Bruce Wayne and the detective aspects of Batman.
Well, not even just that, but the line of Superman at his core is a good guy, I'm not.
That's right from the comic.
It was, but the delivery felt so rushed.
Yeah, there's certain moments in this that it's just like, all right, we have to include this. We have to include the Superman fight. We have to include the kidnapped child at the beginning. We have to have the Joker in the alley almost being beaten to death by Batman before Gordon steps in.
Yes.
But it sounds like we're bagging on it. By and large, this is, I think, one of the better animated ones in this new continuity. That being said, can we please move on from this continuity and start going back to more unique stuff like Gotham by Gaslight or Under the Red Hood? Just their own standalone things.
Yeah, I'd be more down with that, I think. Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing. I can see the backlash, but I wouldn't mind a quote unquote updated Under the Red Hood.
Nope, don't you touch it. That's such a good animated movie.
It is, but you're gonna want. I mean, unless you're just gonna not acknowledge it at all.
Just leave it how it is.
All right, fine.
All right, well, we've talked enough about this movie. Now let's get into the actual news of the week.
I forgot to tell you. I saw Lion King this weekend.
Oh, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this.
I completely forgot to tell you. So I remember our discussion, in what your issues were going into it. But I kept an open mind and tried to get through it all. I agree with you that the movie it doesn't drag, but it's not as exciting until Puma and Timon show up.
All of a sudden, they are trying their best to save that movie.
Dude, all of a sudden the movie has this life that it didn't have before, and it's a lot of fun, which I felt like was missing in the first half.
What did you think of the voice acting as a whole?
Good. Here's the thing. I don't think the problem, if any of the voice acting feels like the issue, I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is the hyper-realistic animation. Because I couldn't, like, when Mufasa dies and Simba screams no, I don't feel it. Not because of the voice acting, but because the face didn't like emote as much as I felt like it should. I didn't see the feeling in the eyes because they're just animal eyes. You know what I mean?
The only one that I felt actually emoted was Timon.
Yes. But that's
I don't
because
know why he was any different, but yes. Yeah. I felt emotion wasn't there.
Yeah, and so like certain moments felt like they should have been bigger, but they almost weren't because of the lack of able to communicate emotions.
Yeah, as a whole, I didn't think it was as bad as some of the critics were making it out to be. Like, this movie's getting lashed. That being said, it wasn't nearly as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
I think Jungle Book is still the best in terms of live-action remakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did hear rumors lately that they're thinking about touching Robin Hood.
Like, with animals?
Yeah.
That'd be real weird.
I mean, unless they went the Redwall route.
You were never going to let that go, are you?
I will never let it go!
Alrighty, ready to get into some news?
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So off the top, we have Lord and Miller, the guys behind the first Lego movie, the best of the Lego movies. The guys that were going to direct The Flash and directed in about 90% of Solo before they got fired with 2 weeks to go, which I still don't understand that decision. But most recently, they're the guys, some of the creative guys behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. Josh has it as his best Spider-Man movie. But they are not leaving the Spider-Man brand anytime soon, as it is now being discussed that they're going to be making not one, but apparently multiple live-action TV shows with Sony for the Spider-Man world. Josh, how are you feeling on this?
Why? Just why? Like, genuinely, like... we both know I love Spider-Man, and I'll eat that stuff up, but I do think there's such a thing as overflooding the market, especially with Spider-Man stories.
Well, if anybody has been oversaturated lately, it's been Spider-Man.
Exactly.
But I think just because it says Spider-Man doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a Peter Parker show. You can have a Miles show. You can have... tell me, if they announced today a Spider-Man 2099 live-action TV series, you wouldn't watch that?
Oh, I'd watch the crap out of it.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a Peter Parker story.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll give it that. I definitely think, yeah, that would up the ante quite a bit.
I'm twofold. One, what platforms would this be on? Like, is there a specific channel this would be on? Because that's a world of difference to me. If you say it's going to be a Netflix original, okay. If you tell me it's going to be on CW,
yeah, now I really... If that's the case, then I definitely don't want to see it.
But also, this sounds great, but Sony in particular has this nasty habit, especially with Spider-Man, of announcing stuff that never ends up happening. Like, I believe it was a year or two ago that Sinister Six movie was supposed to have happened already. We were supposed to get a Black Cat movie. We're finally getting Morbius next year. But especially with the Spider-Man franchise, Sony has this nasty habit of announcing stuff with some big-name people attached to it, and then it never happens. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 Amazing Spider-Man 3. So this sounds great on paper to me. I know you're more hesitant, but I'm also very hesitant to say for a fact that this will ever actually see the light of day, even with Lord and Miller.
Yeah, that's my big thing is I don't know. I don't know how credible it is, and I don't know how badly I want this to happen.
Yeah. Something that I actually do want to happen, I know you will be very much on the fence about this, but Disney's Aladdin has been just destroying the box office this year. I think it's crossed over $1 billion, the live-action remake. I was not expecting very much from it, and I had a lot of fun with it. That being said, Disney's thinking about or in the process of figuring out how to do a sequel to live-action Aladdin. Josh, get it out of your system now. I know you're going to have some grumble thoughts.
No! That's a no. Because just look at Disney's track record with sequels. And that's all the proof you need.
See, the thing is, of all the like Disney Renaissance movies like Little Mermaid or Aladdin or Lion King, Aladdin is one of the few ones that actually had a halfway decent sequel. Not Return of the Jafar, that was trash because they didn't get Robin Williams back, and a whole bunch of other reasons. But the third Aladdin in the series, Prince of Thieves, is actually a really good direct-to-DVD movie, and one that probably was the caliber of a theatrically released movie had they decided to go that route. And if they went that route, the story's already been told, and I think that would absolutely be a really good movie. Do you know the story of Prince of Thieves?
I do not.
So what happens in it is Aladdin and Jasmine are finally about to get married. It's the day of the ceremony when all of a sudden this gang of smugglers and thieves break into the palace, more or less destroy the palace and ransack it and kidnap Aladdin. But the thing is, the smugglers and these thieves are led by Aladdin's father.
Oh,
and
okay.
he is on the hunt for the hand of Midas, that whatever it touches turns to gold, which would just be perfect for a thief. And so there's these band of outlaws trying to find this one great treasure. Aladdin gets to finally meet and bond with his dad, but his dad is not who he thought he was. And there's this great villain. That's a good story in and of itself to tell if they wanted to go that route. However, without dipping too much into spoilers for Aladdin, there is one significant change that happens to the genie. I won't tell you what it is here. There's a significant change to the genie's character at the end of this new Aladdin that could absolutely affect the story going forward for sequels that make me kind of have some reservations. But if they want to make Aladdin sequels, there's already stories that they've told, and I think they could have a lot of fun with.
I'm going to stick to my guns. Just because it doesn't make sense to me. It'll be the only one that they've made a sequel out of far. And I feel like we should just keep going forward instead of...
Although there is talk about making a Jungle Book sequel and making it Tailspin.
Really?
Yeah, actually, that is a rumor out there right now.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I'm not going to lie. If we got a Tailspin movie, I'd watch it.
I'm down for Tailspin. I'm not down for making it a sequel from Jungle Book.
All right. Fair enough.
Because to me, the Tailspin operates in a different world entirely.
That one is very, very distinctly animated.
Yes. Anyway, the proof is in the pudding. If they show me a good trailer and can get me hooked, then fine.
True. Now, this next story, I've been on the fence of actually believing if this project has ever actually existed since day one. So, a Batgirl movie, yes, a Barbara Gordon Batgirl movie, has apparently been in development since around Justice League. So, here's the timeline. Joss Whedon gets hired on to write and direct a Batgirl movie. a couple months later, a month or two later, I think, he gets signed on to do the reshoots for Justice League to fill in for Zack Snyder, who had to take care of family tragedy. And then after the reshoots are done, he mysteriously can't figure out how to tell a Batgirl story and leaves the project. Well, now flash forward to 2019, and Warner Brothers apparently is very much prioritizing this Batgirl movie. They had a Supergirl movie. Apparently that's not a top priority anymore. Batgirl is their top priority. I have never once, for a second, believed that this project was real. Because if you look at it on paper, it very much seems like this was the front that they were saying, oh yeah, we hired Joss Whedon on to make this movie. And then he suspiciously leaves Warner Brothers after you do Justice League. It seemed more like he was signed on just to do Justice League reshoots.
Yeah. Which I wouldn't be surprised of.
Oh, there. But, first of all, do you buy that Warner Brothers is putting Batgirl as a priority? And if so, is that a movie that you actually want to see?
I don't think it's a priority, but it is a movie I would want to see. However, it depends on the context. Because if we wait and tell the story, if we tell this story before the Batman movie comes out, which I don't think that'll happen, but just being the devil's advocate here, that kind of movie shouldn't come out before Batman, and it shouldn't come out before Man of Steel 2. It's one of those like,
we are not getting Man of Steel 2, unfortunately.
I'm counting on it. Don't worry. I'm still holding up hope, just like you are. But you know what? But you get my meaning though. Like, I feel like it's too early to tell that story.
I think also, Robert Pattinson is a pretty young actor, and typically, if you have a Batgirl, it means you have other members of the Bat family. You have Nightwing, who's always around Batgirl's age, and before you just say, I'm trying to bring Nightwing in, Nightwing and Batgirl are like two peas in a pod. Their stories are always very much tied together. So
they are.
I think if we're going for a young Batman, the chances of a Batgirl anytime soon are not very high because you need a more seasoned Batman before you start introducing younger members of the family.
So what I would find interesting, what would be really cool to me, would be maybe bring in Barbara, right? Do that, fine. Bring her in, like, let's assume, that, and because I agree with your point that Robert Pattinson is a little too young at this point. We need to do something maybe more seasoned. But let's assume that maybe Nightwing and Batgirl, exist, and they kind of make a cameo in the movie. Okay, boom, that happens. We open up with the Batgirl movie with Barbara Gordon, and she gets shot for a specific reason, and we go with Cassandra instead.
I think Batgirl as a whole, it's already obscure enough of a character, but kind of people may know her from the 60s. No one, except for comic book readers, knows who Cassandra Cain is. So I think that's going to be a really hard sell to make a Batgirl movie with Cassandra Cain.
But she's the better, in my opinion, the better incarnation of Batgirl.
I will fight you all day on that.
Fair enough. Okay.
But also, this is going to sound difficult, but with Cassandra Cain, her being mute, I think, could also be a difficult sell for if it's just her solo movie.
Yeah, that's also true. I would almost make the argument to bring Huntress in before you even bring Robin.
Well, she is. Robin. Huntress is in Birds of Prey next year.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. Well, I would be down for that. Bring her in, into the Batman movie before even you bring in the other ones, because the whole back and forth between Huntress and Batman is, Huntress is totally okay with killing, and Batman is like, no. So maybe he makes that that's when he makes that decision that if anybody is going to team with him, they have to have the same kind of belief system.
I do very much buy that Warner Brothers, after the success of the first Wonder Woman, and I fully bet that the next Wonder Woman will be a huge hit, and with his financial success, at least, of Captain Marvel, I firmly believe Warner Brothers wants to do more female-centric superhero movies. I just don't know if Batgirl's the right choice yet, just because of the age gap present right now with Robert Pattinson being such a young Batman. But we'll see. If we do end up getting Batgirl, that just raises the chances that we'll get Nightwing someday to very good.
Yeah.
Because you can only go so long into Barbara's story before Dick shows up at some point.
He has to. Oh, absolutely. So.
Well, this next story probably is the most unique and interesting that we've covered so far, but one that absolutely has piqued my interest faster than almost anything else I've seen this year. So, a while back, I saw this report that Shia LaBeouf, everyone's favorite celebrity punching bag, which we'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. Everyone's favorite celebrity punching bag, Shia LaBeouf, will be starring in a movie about his life where he's going to play his father. And I just was like, all right, that just sounds like typical Shia LaBeouf. The movie's going to be called Honey Boy, and the trailer for it dropped earlier this week. And I'm not going to lie, I need to see this movie.
Yes. So I think you and I have talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about it on the pod yet, but Shia LaBeouf, I know for a fact we've talked about it, off mic, but Shia LaBeouf is now reaching the prime of his life. I think the first time I saw him back on my personal radar was when he was in Fury. And
that was your first exposure to him?
Back, after Transformers.
Okay.
After he went kind of crazy.
Which this movie is going to address that, actually.
Yeah. It's super interesting.
For all the crap people give Shia LaBeouf, based off this trailer, he's more or less letting people just see, I'm going to portray everything that was bad in my life in this movie. Of I'm not going to sugarcoat what I did in my past, and he's going to own up to it. And this trailer seems so interesting. The first time I watched it, that opening shot, it's like, okay, this is clearly set on a movie, even before they called cut and whatnot. And it took me a while to realize that it was about Shia LaBeouf as soon as I saw the young actor that's going to be playing young Shia in Even Stevens clothes. And I was like, hey, that's Even Stevens. Oh, wait. Was that opening shot from Transformers? And I kind of had to rewatch and go start from the beginning again, knowing, oh, wait, this is a movie about Shia LaBeouf. And we'll be talking about it later for our favorite actors. But I think Shia LaBeouf is an interesting guy because he gets a lot of flack from people that don't really know his story. And I think that's part of the reason why he's making this movie is he hasn't been in a lot of blockbuster stuff, but he has said numerous times he's fine with that. He loves these small indie movies that are more artsy and tell an interesting story. I'm dying to see Peanut Butter Falcon. I'm so hung up on trying to find showings for that. And right now it's only showing in 17 theaters nationwide until the end of this month, I think. But he seems so vulnerable and willing to put himself out there for this movie. And I think everyone in this looks spectacular. The kid just seems like a young Shia. The other actor looks like he nailed that voice in the opening and when he's getting arrested by the cop. But even Shia playing his father, the little bits of info that I do know about Shia's upbringing, I'm very interested to see what Shia is bringing to the table for this.
Spot on. Well, and there were certain lines that are said in the trailer that really got me, especially once I realized that it was Shia's life. Was oh wow, when his dad's why do you think your mom has to have multiple jobs? It's because she doesn't believe in you, and if you fail, y'all are screwed.
Yeah, and then at the end of the trailer, it's just how do you think it makes me feel knowing that you pay me?
Yeah,
it's
oof. I'm ready for this, and I think we'll talk about. Have no doubt that we'll talk about Shy a little bit later. But yeah, between
Yes.
this and Peanut Butter Falcon, and like I said, like Fury as well. Like if you guys haven't seen Fury, it's a pretty decent movie. But Shy is pretty good in it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about him. I will have a long thing about Shia later.
Oh, good to know.
Yes, I have many thoughts about Shia LaBeouf, actually.
Good to know.
Now, coming to America 2. I've got no transition. We're just going right into that.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to America 2, it is actually happening. It is a thing, and it has grown its cast. So we've known for a little bit that Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall were coming back, but now we know James Earl Jones is coming back, as well as Wesley Snipes, so long as he does his taxes.
Yes. I have not seen the first one, but I know that it was very much, to my understanding at least, very much a culture piece. Like, yes, it was a comedy. Yes, it had, Eddie Murphy and all these great actors in it, but it was still at its core very much an in-look of our society. And if there was ever a time to make a movie about an immigrant coming to America, now is definitely the time.
Also, I highly doubt they'll do it, but they need to bring back Samuel L. Jackson, because the first Coming to America, the original Coming to America, is one of the earliest on-screen roles for Samuel L. Jackson. And it'd be nice to see him reprise his role now that he's a big, huge star.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool as
well. With this, as well as the whole Netflix deal that we talked about a few weeks ago, and there's some other trailer for a movie like Dolomite or something, is this the beginning of an Eddie Murphy renaissance, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if he's trying to reinvent himself, because he's been off the radar for quite some time.
Well, before he went off the radar for a little bit, he had a string of bad movies. You got...
Yes, he did.
Was it Norbit or Norbert? Norbit,
yeah.
1,000 Words.
Yeah.
Meet Dave.
Yeah, what is that, the one where he's like actually an alien or something?
Yeah, something like that. Pluto Nash.
Yeah. He didn't have a lot of good successes. I mean, they're memorable films in their own way, but yeah, he hasn't had any big hits in a long time. And
even then, Shrek, but that's been quite a few years by now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, dude, I had a moment this week, man. I was talking about like the speech from Rocky VI from Balboa.
Yeah.
And it being like the greatest movie speech of all time, blah, blah, blah. And this little girl at work was like, I've never seen it, blah, blah, blah. And like my brain went, what? How not? How have you not? That movie came out a couple years ago.
Welcome to my world. Blah, blah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was like, it came out a couple years ago. And she goes, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'll look it up. 13
years ago.
It came out, in 2006. And she legit goes, oh, I was 4 when that came out. And just the feeling of pure disappointment in myself, like that I felt so old in that moment. I was just like, no.
Yeah, time is awful.
Times are changing.
Well, segueing to one of our favorite directors working today, Taika Waititi, who, hands down, has the most fun name to say of all directors working today, replacing Quentin Tarantino.
Taika Waititi?
Yeah. Before it was Quentin Tarantino. I think now it's Taika Waititi.
Yep. Taika Waititi.
So as we know, he'll be directing Thor: Love and Thunder, which is still a very interesting name. But before he takes on Love and Thunder, he's apparently directing some other film, a sports film, called Next Goal Wins, which I should have done more research. I think it's either a soccer/football movie or a rugby movie. I'm not entirely sure. But you say Taika Waititi, and I am there. Like,
Taika
real
Waititi
quick.
is a lot of fun. Honestly, I can see him doing like a Kung Fu Hustle type sports movie.
Or like a This Is Spinal Tap type. Just
yeah.
with sports instead.
What is that movie? Shaolin Soccer.
Oh, yeah.
I could totally see Taika Waititi doing something like that.
You know what would be great is if Dodgeball was a mockumentary with Taika Waititi, like that type of style of like, or a world that the events of Dodgeball have happened, and it's like an ESPN special of recapping the events of Dodgeball.
Or even like do something else, like maybe not Dodgeball, maybe do some other kind of like B-level sport, like I don't know, like bowling or darts,
curling.
Oh, that would be I would pay money to see Taika Waititi do an hour and a half film, a mockumentary about curling. That would be so funny.
Better yet, set it in the MCU and call it Korging.
Yay! This
like
just keeps
Korg just takes
a
chunk off of himself and just hurls it down some ice.
Korg would totally be a Canadian too.
Which, yeah, he would. Shout out to my mom, one of our most loyal listeners, who actually sent me an article that we can briefly talk about now. Taika Waititi has said for Thor: Love and Thunder that Korg will have a bigger role to play in the movie, and I just rejoice in the streets.
Yeah, but it'll be next to Natalie Portman, so she's going to suck all of the charisma out of him. Anyway.
She's a good actress, but yeah, she hasn't been great so far. Korg spin-off movie, please. Korg and Meek.
Yeah.
Gods of Thunder.
It'll be fun.
No. Korg. Rock, paper, scissors.
So anyway, there's a new deal with Netflix.
Yeah, so I have a funny story about this, actually. So what Josh is talking about is Benioff and Weiss, besides Shia LaBeouf, the other celebrity punching bags that people really like to bag on right now. And that's because these guys were the directors of Game of Thrones for the past few seasons, the bad seasons. And they've now signed this massive 9-figure deal for Netflix. So the funny part is, I work for a news station on the weekends. As one of my jobs, and they reported this. And the anchor that reported it said this was an exclusive deal. It's not.
Uh-oh.
Because they're still signed on to do Star Wars. Because as soon as he said exclusive deal, I was like, what does this mean for the future of Star Wars? And I'm still going, what does this mean for the future of Star Wars? Because those of you who don't know, yes, Benioff and Weiss have signed this deal with Netflix. But also, before this, they were signed on to direct this whole new Star Wars trilogy that we still don't know that much about. But that trilogy is going to be like 2022, 2024, and 2026. So relatively soon-ish. It's the next trilogy after this Skywalker saga is done.
Please, no more Skywalkers.
I'm hoping it's Old Republic, but they haven't said anything officially yet.
I'm hoping Old Republic or Sith Jedi Wars.
Yeah. I'm really wondering how this deal is going to affect that Star Wars trilogy.
Here's the thing. Why are they giving them like a deal? Are they going to be creating content for Netflix? Is that okay?
Which I've been reading up on this because it's interesting. Of a lot of industry insiders are saying that this is a very bad move for Netflix. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's Benioff and Weiss doing this. That's not why officials are mad at this. Official analysts are upset because Netflix is already billions, not millions, billions of dollars in debt. And you're shelling out this much money for somewhat divisive directors, but also you're just shelling out this much money for what? You don't really know. Yeah. That's a lot of money to be blowing when you really need to be in more save mode, especially with all these other streaming platforms on the rise.
Yeah, that was my thought. Was like, because I remember you telling me they're in like a lot of debt. So like, Why would you go and drop a 9-figure deal on these directors? Not that there's anything wrong with them, but I would almost like say like, hey, they're giving them, 2 or 3, shows or pictures or something. Like, have something attached to that 9-figure deal, like some kind of like, they've got to create this much amount of content for us, so that they earn that deal, I guess. Otherwise, they're just throwing money away that they don't have.
Which is kind of what Netflix has been doing, unfortunately. It just, I don't think this is a good idea. It has nothing to do with Benioff and Weiss, but I don't think their track record is very proven either. But Netflix is spending more and more money that they don't have. This move, to me, reeks of desperation, and that is not a good thing.
No, not at all.
They need to be in save mode.
Desperation. That's as much as, like, I don't think they're as bad as some people make them out to be, but a desperation move is not that. Benioff and Weiss are not people at this point you want to make desperations with.
Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, my bold prediction, and I stand by this, within the next 5 to 10 years, there won't be a Netflix.
Oh, I'd give it 3.
At the rate they're spending money and the way that other streaming platforms are rising up really quickly, Netflix is going to die and die quickly.
Yes,
they're losing ground really fast, and I think this is a very big move in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too is that the fact that I would almost rather have Hulu than over Netflix. And I think most of the time, most people only get Netflix for like the exclusive stuff that they have on there.
Yeah, honestly, we share Netflix with my mom and dad and one of our uncles, who it's his account. Honestly, if we didn't share that account, I don't know if I'd have Netflix. Because yes, Stranger Things is great, but it's not worth Netflix just for Stranger Things or just for the original Twilight Zone. Those are basically the only things I watch on Netflix.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. Netflix has put out some great stuff. Haunting on Hill House. Hush.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like they put out some good content, but that's not going to warrant us dropping 10 whatever amount of money that always increases, by the way, amounts of money every month just to see your exclusive stuff, because
what
else are you going to offer?
And I'm not sure if they'd ever go this route. I know they've talked about it. There's been rumors of them doing this before. But do what Hulu or do what Vudu does of you can have your premium service that you pay for, but then for a cheaper rate, you get a limited commercial service. Honestly, if I could get Netflix for like $6 or $7, but there's commercials, I'd do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all.
And then it'd get sponsorship money.
But I mean, I know the backlash would be massive, but at the same time,
as a business choice, company, they may have no choice soon.
Exactly. It's got to be, how are we going to survive as a company? Not, hey, what does our fan base, what does our user base want? Yeah.
Netflix has just really put themselves in a bad position, I think. But with Benioff and Weiss directing Star Wars, let's segue into our last movie news topic, which of course is something Star Wars related. And boy, does it get me very, very curious as well as excited. So, John Williams' son, who's been working with his dad, John Williams, the greatest film composer of all time, who is doing the music for Rise of Skywalker, of course, he has come out and said that every single theme that you've ever heard in a Star Wars movie will come back in Rise of Skywalker. To which my Phantom Menace brain goes, oh, please have Rey and Kylo fight to Duel of the Fates.
That'd be awesome. First of all, I'm going to call you out on air for refusing every music theme.
I'm going autocorrect on that. So the notes apparently say reportedly refusing? Reusing, not refusing.
And I legit stared at it for like 5 minutes. I was like, I don't understand what that's trying to say.
Yes, John Williams refuses to use any music theme, but no, they're reusing every music theme. So,
yes,
the Force theme, Leia's theme, hopefully Duel of the Fates,
the theme,
Imperial March, probably.
I don't know the name of it, but the theme of, I think, in the New Hope when Luke's looking at the dual suns.
Binary Sunset.
Yeah.
Which is some of the best music.
Oh, that is one of the best. But yeah, no, I think that is an interesting thing to report.
Yes.
Mainly because what that might tell us a little something about the story, and that maybe that this is the end of the Skywalkers.
Well, one of the reasons why I think the Star Wars soundtrack is one of, if not the best of all time, except for maybe Lord of the Rings, is take away the visuals of Star Wars and the music still will guide you through the story and tell you what the story is if you know what to listen for. So, John Williams has done the music for all the main anthology movies. He didn't do it for Rogue One or Solo, but for all the main ones. And whenever he does a theme or a piece of music, he does it very intentionally for something in the story, to represent a character or a moment. It's a leitmotif. That's what it's called. And it's very intentional. It's supposed to elicit an emotion or a feeling or make you think something or associate it with something. So having these come back, what does this mean for the story? It's not going to be like, oh, we're just going to casually throw Duel of the Fates or casually throw the Imperial March in here. John Williams, it's very intentional. So if these are coming back into the story, there's got to be a really good reason for it.
Yeah, and that was my thought process as well, is that, okay, maybe this says that this is the end of the Skywalkers, or maybe this is the opportunity to tell the very intense stories. I think I would go as far as to say that Rise of Skywalker is going to have to be the best Star Wars movie made.
I don't know if it has to go that far, because nothing's going to replace Empire anytime soon, but it has to win fans back, because honestly, as much as I like The Last Jedi, I'm not blind. The Star Wars fandom is very divided right now, which I think is really stupid and petty. It's just, if you like Star Wars, you can like Star Wars. Don't have to hate everyone else for it. Yeah, no, and I think you and I have said this on air before, that Star Wars fans are the worst kinds of fans. Yes. They're like wrestling fans. If no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. Yeah. They're the most picky, and they just... It's the most... I think it's the most frustrating thing about being a fan of Star Wars. Fan of anything, really. Yes. But if they do incorporate all these different themes, I pick up almost all the Star Wars CDs. I love the Last Jedi soundtrack, but I think this has a chance to be like the Star Wars greatest hits, which, if that's all Rise of Skywalker is, I'll walk away happy. Yeah. I'm down. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know, like, I'm kind of just ready for the movie to be here, so that end of this month we should get another trailer. Yeah, with D23 Expo. I might go back and rewatch the trailer, just for kicks and gigs. Fair enough. I think that can segue us into our discussion. You got a sponsor for us before we go into that discussion? Today's sponsor is brought to you by Body Armor, the sports drink from Kobe Bryant. Really? Yeah, dude. This stuff is saving my life. Interesting. All right. Well, our main discussion for this week is our favorite actors. This is one that Josh has wanted for a while, and I've wanted to do for a while too. But we both have a long list of... These are the people that, like, when they're in a movie, we pay attention to. The movie could absolutely be terrible. let me preface this. There are some actors in this on my list that have been in some truly awful movies, but they are never bad in those movies.
Yes.
Case in point, my all-time favorite actor since 1999, top of the man crush list. He's been in some stinkers, but he's always the bright, shimmering light in any of those bad movies. Ewan McGregor.
What a guy.
I love Ewan McGregor ever since Phantom Menace. I've seen him in some other stuff. He's just a great actor that can fill whatever you need in a movie. Even if it's something dumb like Jack and the Giant Slayer, which, yes, I saw that in theaters, and he's just playing Obi-Wan again in that.
He really is.
But I've always liked Ewan McGregor. He's just got this charisma, and he's just a lot of fun. If we ever get Green Arrow, I'd be so down for him as Green Arrow.
Oh, yeah. I think this is going to come with a lot of the people on both of our lists. There's the truly great actors and actresses. There is a certain presence when they're in a film.
Yes. It's just an entertainment value of like, all right, no matter how bad it is, this person is great. Who you got on your list?
Kind of to that same, a couple of them for me in that kind of same little field of whether it's good or bad. These actors are always good. I'm going to ramble off 3, and that's Tom Hardy, Anthony Hopkins, and Gary Oldman, man. No matter what movies they're in, they are always good.
Fair.
I mean, just
cover Tom
Anthony
Hardy last because he can segue me perfectly in my next one, actually.
Okay. I mean, first of all, Gary Oldman, man. Dude,
where's that man's Academy Award? He needs it.
Dude, he is a chameleon. He plays every character well. And every single character he plays is completely different. I don't think there's a single one that he's played the exact same way.
He plays the villain a lot, but he always does it so well. And none of his villains are ever the same.
Oh, and to me, he'll always be Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, that's up there in terms of my favorite. But also, I really loved him in Book of Eli, too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. He's pretty good in The Fifth Element as well.
If you say so.
Oh, shush.
I just don't like The Fifth Element.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's like a bad Doctor Who episode.
Or a good Doctor Who episode.
And now you've got the Whovians mad at us.
So anyway, let's talk about Anthony Hopkins. Who even his presence in Noah, he was
in Noah?
He's in Noah.
You were probably one of the few people on Earth that remembers that movie.
Oh, I never saw it. I just remember seeing him in the trailer. He's fantastic. I mean, just the fact that he got awards for 15 minutes of screen time for
Hannibal Lecter is one of the single greatest movie characters / villains of all time. And like you said, he doesn't even need a lot of screen time to do it. That's just how good of an actor he is.
He's so good.
Also,
pretty much everything.
I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves for being Odin in the Thor movies.
Oh, dude. I like whenever they're like, we got to cast Odin, and they cast Anthony Hopkins. I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's perfect Odin right there.
Yeah, I've liked his Odin and what he brings to the table. Very understated is when Loki is playing as Odin in the beginning of Ragnarok, and that's still Anthony Hopkins being goofy. Yes.
Special mention to Matt Damon in that scene.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. To anybody that like listens to this podcast knows that I always enjoy Tom Hardy.
He will not be Wolverine.
He won't, but watching some of his other stuff, the man can act, man. Like I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a movie he did about two twins. A set of twins.
Yeah, where they're like mafia twins.
Yeah, and they both have very distinct completely different personalities, and he plays both. And it's incredible to watch. Also, there's a movie I didn't get the chance to see all of it, but there's a movie called Locke, which literally takes place with him in a car and like conversations and stuff. The film is shot in all one take, or as close to one take as they can get. So he's legit.
Good grief, that stresses me out.
Yeah, so he like it's like an hour or something long movie. So they like legit everything is planned, from the phone calls that he gets to, like the cars that get in his way, blah blah blah. And like if they screw one thing up, they set it up all over again. So he's legit having to act as this character for like an hour straight.
That's ridiculous.
The man, and like if you've ever seen him in Bronson, there's a TV show.
I was about to say, are you going to bring up Bronson at any time?
Yeah, it's Bronson, bro.
What was the first Tom Hardy movie that you can recall, or the first thing that you remember seeing him in?
Oh man.
My first memory of him is always Inception.
Yes, Inception's very prevalent.
And then
I'm trying to think of anything before that.
Inception was 2010, and then in 2012 he did this movie with my next favorite actor.
Oh yeah?
Called Warrior.
Oh yes.
Joel freaking Edgerton is one of the most, if not the most criminally underrated actor working in Hollywood today. This man deserves to be a leading man. The guy from Warrior, and I'm not just saying that because I love Warrior. I've seen him in plenty of other stuff. He was phenomenal as a director and as an actor in a movie called The Gift, which is amazing. But I saw the Leonardo DiCaprio Great Gatsby movie. Not a huge fan of it, but there are certain scenes when Joel Edgerton has to play off of DiCaprio, and I actually think Edgerton outacts DiCaprio.
Really? Then
yeah,
there's a
scene where so Leo is more or less having an affair with Joel Edgerton's wife, and he kind of suspects it. So there is like this very tense stare down, and Leo's acting his butt off, but Joel's not backing down either. Like, he brings it for that scene. But then we always got to bring it back to, I first saw him in, well, I'll talk about what I first saw him in a second here, but his best role to me is always Warrior. That single-handedly, that's the performance that he gives in Warrior is just incredible and frankly deserved a nomination.
I think almost everybody in that film is acting their butts off, especially like Tom Hardy. Their dad is incredible.
Nick Nolte,
yeah.
Also, honorable mention. I'm not going to fully put him on my list, but honorable mention to Frank Grillo, who was the trainer in Warrior and also played Crossbones.
Yeah,
he's a great actor. But Joel Edgerton is like so criminally underrated. And just for a fun fact, the very first movie that I, as well as millions of other people in the world, first saw Joel Edgerton in without realizing was Attack of the Clones.
Really?
He was in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, as
Owen Lars. Yeah, I always forget that.
Yep.
What a guy.
He looks completely different.
He's come
a long way to be one of my favorite actors, but also one of the most underappreciated actors. I've got quite a few actors that haven't quite got the recognition that I feel like they deserve. Case in point, my next actor, Anthony Mackie.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of you MCU fans know him as Falcon. Falcon is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. But even before Falcon, I've been a huge fan of Anthony Mackie ever since I saw him in this really small but great movie called The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. About more or less your life is already set in motion from these guys up above, kind of like angels. And so one day Matt Damon's life goes off of their books and start messing up their plan. So Anthony Mackie's in charge of getting his life back on track. And I'm underselling how good of a story it is, but whether it's Adjustment Bureau or 8 Mile, Anthony Mackie is just great and just charismatic. And the main reason more than anything else that I'm looking forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's not Baron Zemo, it's nothing like that. It's Anthony Mackie being a leading man for something.
Yes. I'm excited. What a guy.
Who else you got? Because I got plenty.
Oh, obviously. Obviously on my list, I have a couple guys that are my personal favorites, but we'll get there. Let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal, man.
Mm-hmm.
What a dude. What a dude. And like,
he's definitely on my list too.
Dude, everybody's just kind of getting to know him from Far From Home, but dude, the guy.
Remember, guys? If you weren't there with him during his Prince of Persia days, you can't jump on the bandwagon now.
Okay, I just remember like seeing Prince of Persia,
which is and then really good.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good movie. And then seeing him do what was it, Nightcrawler, and then Southpaw, like all in the spans of like maybe 4 years or so, and just like 3 very different characters. I actually think, now that I say that, I think Prince of Persia was way before that. But
yeah, Prince of Persia was 2012.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't remember the dates for Southpaw or
Southpaw. I think it was 2016.
Yeah, so I mean it'd be close, within 4 years or so. But I mean, 3 very drastically different characters, and every single one was very defined as well. Like, have you seen Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler, I have not seen, but I think you're missing another one of his big performances, and that's him in Prisoners.
Oh, okay. I actually haven't seen Prisoners.
Prisoners is a hard watch. It's a really good movie, but it's a hard movie to watch. But Gyllenhaal, along with somebody else that I'll get to later in my list, it's the best acting I've ever seen these people do. He is phenomenal in that as a very focused and driven cop. He is so good in that. A few weeks ago, I saw him in the movie Zodiac as a man, as a cartoonist trying to hunt down the Zodiac killer. And he is the best thing in that movie. And this is a movie that also stars Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo. It's a stacked cast, but he absolutely steals the show. He's so good in that movie. Jake Gyllenhaal is just a phenomenal actor. And so when he was signed on to be Mysterio, I got so excited, and he did not disappoint as Mysterio. He was fantastic.
Yeah, it's just, he is another one, and I think he goes into the conversation with Shy. I think that these guys are just getting started. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time, you and I are in our 40s, that they will be the Robert De Niro's of our time.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Who else you got?
Let's see. And I always have to, these next 2, I always have to put a little side note on them in that I like their acting and the characters that they play on screen. Their ability to do what they're paid to do they're very good at it. I do not like them as people, but their acting ability is fantastic. And that's Mel Gibson and Edward Norton.
Oh yeah, both of those are horrible people.
Oh yeah, but like, especially Edward Norton, you can't disagree that he is one of the best actors of all time.
Very true. I just watched Birdman earlier this week, and his role in that, I hated him, but I know I'm supposed to.
Exactly. And even him in Fight Club, with the scene where he has to beat himself up and do it convincingly. Holy crap.
And I'm assuming Mel Gibson because of Lethal Weapon and Mad Max?
Well, not just that. Patriot and Braveheart. Get the Gringos, pretty good. It's underrated and a little weird, but eh. There's one that came out the past couple of years called Bloodfather. That he's pretty good in. But then again, he's basically just his character from Lethal Weapon. But just a downtrodden dad who can kill people. But yeah, no, I enjoy his acting quite a bit, and he's a believable character to me. And you know what? Part of that might be because his personality is so akin to the characters he plays.
So I got a couple more. Well, I got plenty more, but I'm gonna kind of split them up into 3 categories. I've got my mainstream ones that everyone likes. I got my underrated. I got a few more underrated ones, and I've got my ones that I die on my hill that they're great. Which one do you want me to go into next?
Let's you die on the hill. I'm curious about that one.
All right. So when I say these 2 names, I mean this with full sincerity that I think these 2 are some of the best actors working today, and I mean that not in an ironic, a joking way. I fully believe this. Shia LaBeouf and Nicolas Cage.
Absolutely.
Both of these guys are like, the internet loves to make fun of them, and at times both of these guys have like put themselves in a situation that makes it easy to make fun of them. Nicolas Cage has not been in some good movies, but when he's actually trying, and also it's very fascinating with Nicolas Cage of a lot of the times he does overacting. It's what he's known for, and he's not always in the best of movies, but even when he's not, you can tell he's having fun. But I've watched him in interviews because the man fascinates me. He is, without joking at all, one of the best and smartest students in the history of film. When he is doing something in a movie, it means he has researched that movement. He's looked into it. I remember watching an interview of him of like one of his famous freakouts. It's almost like shot for shot from some freakout from a German film from the 30s because he wanted to emulate something that he knew, something that he studied as acting. And all you people crap on Nicolas Cage, but you forget he does actually already have an Academy Award under his belt.
Wait, what?
Raising Arizona or Leaving Las Vegas. I was getting mixed up because they're states.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he already has an Academy Award. And yes, he's been in some bad movies, but that's more because he needs the money. But he also just loves making movies. He is a genuinely great actor when he's got the right project. Same thing with Shia LaBeouf. Now, I said I had a whole rant on this before, and here goes. I have been following Shia LaBeouf for a lot of years, dating back to his Even Stevens days. So everyone started getting familiar with him with Transformers. I go further back than that. It's Even Stevens, then it's Holes, then it's Transformers, then it's Disturbia, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And everyone remembers the meltdowns, the car crash on the set of Indiana Jones 4 that delayed production, the bag over the head, the Just Do It, which I still have my Just Do It t-shirt, all the weird antics that he's done. But if you know much about his upbringing, which I only recently discovered just watching him in interviews and whatnot and seeing the trailer for Honey Boy, he had a very messed up childhood. And I feel like over the past few years, he's been trying to find some form of void that he needs filled in his life. And you can see him repairing himself through movies. So like he isn't in these big blockbuster movies because he said, I don't need to be anymore. I'm not strapped for cash. He's in these small things. I remember sending Josh this like half an hour long interview that Shia LaBeouf sat down with this guy, and Shia LaBeouf more or less for the past little bit has been working in inner cities, teaching acting on Saturdays to local communities, more or less to get them to express themselves and just invest back into a community. He is such a fascinating individual, but not just that, he is a great actor. Josh talked earlier about Fury. That movie, it's a very good movie, but his performance is the best of the movie. and that's including Brad Pitt, who's also in the movie. He is so good in Fury. He is excellent across the board in a lot of different movies, but he doesn't get the attention that I feel he deserves because of his off-the-field antics, which, honestly, that hasn't been the case over the past few years just because he's starting to mature. He's starting to grow because he had this phase of everyone's watching him, and I get that. And I'm not condoning or approving of anything he's done in the past. I'm just saying, if you got a director that can keep an eye on him and keep him in check, he is such an amazing talent. Like, go watch the trailer for Peanut Butter Falcon and tell me he's not acting his butt off. He is such an incredible actor that sometimes his antics can be distracting. But if you can get past that, he is such a good actor. Same with Cage.
Well, and I think especially with Shia LaBeouf, I don't think it's necessarily like a director needing to keep him in check. Because even like in the Transformers films, I've seen behind the scenes footage of him being like, no, like I feel like this is the direction the character would go, and he wouldn't, react this way, blah, blah, blah. And Michael Bay legit being like, no, you're an idiot. Listen to this song and you're going to cry. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like, and you know what, maybe part of that is part of his little, not necessarily dislike of studio films, as he says, but just the massive difference is because he's Shia LaBeouf, especially from that interview that you sent me, he cares more about a good story than he does explosions.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how to, like, the easy way to search it. I just searched Shia LaBeouf interview, but if you have the time, I highly recommend it. It's just Shia LaBeouf and this guy sitting on a bench for like half an hour, and it is the most real and honest and genuine that I've ever heard any celebrity talk about anything.
Oh, totally. I think honestly, why don't you find it and post it on the Facebook page?
Yeah, I will. I've never heard a celebrity openly and honestly in an interview say, I need friends. We all need friends. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
And just mean it.
Yeah, he's really good, and I really appreciate all the things that he has done. Moving on, do you have any actresses on your list?
I have one actress, and the name may surprise you, actually.
Really? Okay. I mean, I have 4, but that's just
one of the actresses. I'll give you a hint. One of the actresses is also in a movie with my actress.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because you can see my list. Never mind, I'm done.
Yeah, it's on the doc.
I was like, how do you know my list? What in the world? Okay, who's yours? Yeah, let's do that. Let's say your actress, and I'll see if I can guess which movie you're talking about.
Emma Stone.
Oh, okay. Yes, she's fantastic, though. Well, let's talk about her for a little bit while I figure this out.
Because just looking at my shelf, I was just like, is there any actresses? Like, there's not really any actors or actresses that is just like, I'll see this movie just because this person's in it. Now, directors, that's a different case. If a Nolan movie's coming out, I have to see it. That being said, if you tell me Emma Stone's in a movie, I'm going to be interested because even in the worst movies, she's always really, really good. I hate Amazing Spider-Man 2. She's a really good Gwen Stacy, and sometimes the romance gets a little over the top and unbelievable, but her chemistry with Peter was really, really good. Or even go back to 2009 with Zombieland. She's great in that. She's a lot of fun. Or more dramatic in Birdman. She was really good in Birdman.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
I just hadn't even really thought about it, but just the more of just like, yeah, I've seen a lot of Emma Stone in different things, and I always am consistently really enjoying her work and the stuff that she's in.
Fair enough. And I think that was kind of the thing for me, and I'm not usually the kind of person either to be like, oh, this person's in a movie, I'm gonna go see that. But my thought process was also, when I see this person in a movie, they're always killing it. And so like my name, I can't think of what movie you're thinking of.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, Sally Fields.
There you go.
Yes, that's my girl, Sally. I love
Which
Sally
is such
Fields
an
so
odd
much.
pick for you to have. I'm not gonna lie.
I find her so. Like if I could choose a grandmother, it would be Sally Fields. I just feel like she's like the fun grandma. I don't know.
I think you just hung up on her as Aunt May.
I think maybe that's it, but I enjoy her presence quite a bit. Growing up as a sci-fi film fan, I've got to talk about Sigourney Weaver.
And Holes. Bring it back to Shia LaBeouf. She's great in Holes.
Yeah. She's good in pretty much everything she's in. Emily Blunt, who is...
Emily Blunt is magnificent.
Oh, dude.
I love Emily Blunt.
She's just recently started to come out with some really good films.
A Quiet Place. We've sung that movie's praise enough.
Oh, dude.
But Edge of Tomorrow?
She's fantastic in Edge of Tomorrow. I've been trying to rack my brain of what else she's in, but like I know she's one of those actresses that's very much like, I know if she's in a movie, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's more of a reason to see this.
Yeah. Soon to be Mrs. Fantastic, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. The last female I have is Cate Blanchett.
Really?
Yeah. She's always really good in movies for me.
Any roles in particular that stand out?
I was trying to think. Because I'm so bad at films like that, doing that.
Don't say Indiana Jones 4.
Indiana Jones 4. No, I'm kidding.
Hela?
Thor, Ragnarok.
Yeah, Hela.
Yeah. She's great in Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Which that actually is going to transition me perfectly once you're done.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Hannah?
No.
Okay, it's an okay movie at best, but she does a very good job in it. And I guess technically speaking, she's in The Hobbit too, so that's fun. Have you ever seen the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou?
Steve Zissou. Yes.
Zissou. Okay, she's fantastic in that as well.
Yes.
She's the mom in How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she's like consistent, like one of the best actresses out there.
Which this will make you happy. Cate Blanchett has a co-star in both Thor Ragnarok and Lord of the Rings. It's on my list.
Oh?
Karl Urban.
Oh, I was going to go Jeff Goldblum, but yeah, he's not in.
He's not in Lord of the... Oh,
I know,
gosh.
I know.
If Goldblum was in Lord of the Rings, man.
I don't know why my brain went with Jeff Goldblum, but now I kind of want...
Yes, we need to destroy the ring and take it to Mount Doom.
No.
Yes, and running and the fleeing and the lava and wow.
Now I really want Jeff Goldblum in a Lord of the Rings movie.
He is the Eye of Sauron.
Oh man, but yeah, no. Oh yeah, Karl Urban.
Karl Urban. I've said it with a couple actors already, but he is so underappreciated considering how many big franchises he's been attached to over the years. He is in Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, now the MCU, but always as a supporting character, but always a really good character. His Bones in the new Star Trek, I think, is one of the best adaptations from the original Star Trek to the modern version. His Bones is excellent. I love him in Lord of the Rings. He's such one of those like unspoken or unsung heroes that really is one of the main reasons why the heroes win in Return of the King is because he never gave up the fight.
Yeah. Well, not even that. His Dread is fantastic as well.
We had to get there eventually. His Dread is so good. I wish that movie did better so we can get a sequel.
Yeah, I agree.
But even his role in in Ragnarok was pretty good. He could have gotten more screen time, but he was really good in that. One that everyone always forgets that he was in the first Red movie.
Yeah.
With Bruce Willis, and he was really great in that.
Yeah, he's a very solid guy.
He even had a little bit of a turn on TV. He had this show for one season, which unfortunately got canceled, called Almost Human, which was a buddy cop show, except he was paired with an android. And I think the android is Michael Early, who's like gone on to bigger and better things now. But that show was actually really, really good, and I wish it hadn't got canceled so soon, but he was excellent in that. He's just attached to so many major franchises, but he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And when he is, it never makes as much money as it should.
Now, I will say, I think that is going to change with
The Boys.
The Boys. He looks like he's going to just steal the show, man.
I've heard great things about The Boys.
Same. I need to find a way to watch it.
So I've got another name, not as high profile as Carl Urban, but has been in just as many, if not more, major franchises, but gets forgotten about even more. And I'm going to credit to he's always a bit player, but also has a very hard name for people to remember.
Oh?
You're going to be real happy with this pick. Never Back Down's Djimon Hounsou.
Oh, what a guy.
So Djimon Hounsou, for those of you who aren't familiar, for those that saw Guardians of the Galaxy, which is most of you, he's the guy that goes, who? He is in so much stuff. Check this guy's IMDb page. He's always one of the best or one of the biggest highlights in any movie he's in, but he flies under so many people's radar. He's in not one, but two DC movies. He is in Shazam as the Wizard Shazam, but he's also in Atlantis. He's in Aquaman as he's the Fisher King who gets killed really quick by Orm.
Yep.
But he's also in the MCU. He's, I think, one of the only actors that's both in the MCU and the DCU.
Let's see. I'm looking up his IMDb page right now.
He was in Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, he was in Gladiator, the Furious 7, Legend of Tarzan, Constantine. Dude, this guy's like everywhere.
And he's great in I saw Legend of Tarzan. It is not a good movie at all. But his arc and his character are phenomenal in that movie. And he brings a certain gravitas to any role he's in. Honestly, I could absolutely see him being, if he was a little bit younger, he's a little bit older now. If he was younger, he'd be a great Jon Stewart.
No, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't fight it if they still made him Jon Stewart now. I wouldn't fight that at all. I could definitely
Wizard
see
Shazam's not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, but I could see Martian Manhunter definitely for him.
Oh,
that would be awesome, honestly.
But yes, Djimon Hounsou is so vastly underappreciated, but I always love seeing him in movies, or when I see him signed up onto something, I just go, yes.
He's always good. I got one more. Do you got any more?
I got two more.
All right, go ahead and hit them.
So both of these are more mainstream people. One of them is in the MCU now, and one of them just barely missed the cut for the MCU, unfortunately.
No.
So the one that just barely missed the cut, Hugh Jackman.
What a guy.
What can't this guy do, honestly? He can be Wolverine, and he will never be replaced. He was such a good Wolverine. But even if you take out Wolverine, he has so many other good roles. Yes, the Wolverine kind of overshadows everything else, but he was amazing in The Prestige or Prisoners, I think, is his single best performance. He is so good in Prisoners. Or I have some issues with the movie as a whole, even though I, for the most part, enjoyed it. But he was excellent in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just everything I see him in, he always brings his A game. He's so much fun to watch, and he's always different. He's never the same thing twice. Yes, he's Wolverine a lot, but he has so much more range than that. He can sing. He can do a lot of great dramatic stuff. He's just such a great actor.
Yeah, well, and I think too that some of the guys on this list, people like Tom Hardy or Mel Gibson, they can get typecasted, and I think Hugh Jackman could have easily been typecasted and done the same thing in everything he does. But like you said, the guy has range, and he can just legitimately, like, what can't this guy do?
Admittedly, my last guy kind of does get typecast a little bit, but he's starting to break out of it a little bit. My last guy is always typecast as a socially awkward genius.
Oh?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's Sherlock, his Doctor Strange admittedly could use a little work. I thought the first Doctor Strange was fine, but he's gotten better since then. His Sherlock just single-handedly gets that on my list. His Sherlock is so good. But take that aside, I loved his Khan in Into Darkness, even though you could see that plot twist coming a mile away. I just recently watched Into Darkness like 2 weeks ago, and I forget how much I love that movie because of his Khan.
He is single-handedly okay, you know what? He is an actor for me that if he's attached to a film, I might try to go out of my way and see the film.
I have gone out of my way to see some of his movies, like The Imitation Game. Not a great movie. He's great in it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Or The Current War that he's got coming up in a couple months. That looks really good, and I'll see it just because he's in it. He's got this aura and gravitas to him, and I'm sure part of it's that amazing voice of his.
Yes. Even though he
can do so many different things, whether it's Sherlock or Doctor Strange or Smaug in The Hobbit.
Yes. He's done just about everything.
All right, who's your last guy?
Well, real quick, I just had a name pop into my head that is...
Is it Tony Jaa?
No, that is not in a lot of things, but when I do see him in something, I do enjoy him, and that's David Tennant.
Yeah.
Like, his, I forget the character's name, but his character in Jessica Jones. I do not like that show, but he is incredible in that show.
Yeah, he's always great. I wish we could see him in more stuff.
I agree. And
same with Andrew Scott, who was Moriarty.
Yeah, oof, yes, please. The last guy on my list is, I think he's on everybody's list, but
Scott Adkins.
Michael Jai White. No, I don't think that a lot of people have seen his, like, as much of his stuff as they'd like to admit, and that's Leonardo DiCaprio. Really? Nothing?
Nothing.
Really? Do you not like him?
Hot take time. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is the single most overrated actor in Hollywood.
Really?
There's not a single performance that I've ever seen of DiCaprio that I thought couldn't have been done better by somebody else.
Okay. Granted, I
always think he's good, but not as good as everyone's just like, he's not the second coming of actors. I've always thought he was just...
Not at all, yeah.
I've never understood the appeal of DiCaprio. I've never understood the hype.
I mean, I don't think he's been incredible in the past few years, but like movies like The Departed, What's Eating Gilbert's Grape, like he is easily one of the best things about those movies.
Yeah, he's just never done it for me. And like I've watched a lot of different stuff with him in it, and I'm always just like, he's fine. To me, it always feels like he's like begging for attention in his movies. It's just like, notice me as a serious actor.
Fair enough.
I'll give I don't know what it is. DiCaprio's never done it for me.
Did you not like him in Inception?
Do you not think someone else, like, if you took out DiCaprio and put in McConaughey from Interstellar, does the movie change at all?
Okay, fair enough. I see your point.
And I don't know if that's a DiCaprio thing. Also, any Christopher Nolan movie, as much as I love Christopher Nolan movies, all of his characters are kind of sad.
Fair enough. Okay, let's go with something outside of Christopher Nolan then.
Don't say Shutter Island.
No, I'm not.
I hate that movie.
Because there's movies like Django Unchained or The Revenant in recent years that I would say he's pretty good in.
He was okay in Django. Like, he was fun, but I think Django is probably one I liked him the most, but even then it was just like, Yeah. I'm more drawn to Christoph Waltz's character right now and his performance.
Enough. Did you, well, and even in, I guess I would even say in The Revenant, he's okay, but Tom Hardy
Revenant, was like blatantly begging for attention.
Yeah, because now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, Tom Hardy kills it in that movie.
Yes, Tom Hardy's much better in that movie than DiCaprio. Or like I said, Great Gatsby of Joel Edgerton is much better in that than DiCaprio. DiCaprio's just never done it for me.
Yeah, and no, I'm thinking about it, and I'm starting to take it back a little bit.
This is where all my credibility goes out the window. I would much rather watch Matthew McConaughey in a movie than DiCaprio.
I mean, same though, but that's because Matthew's got a certain gravitas behind him.
Yeah, DiCaprio is always just like, I don't know what it is. I've never been able to put my finger on it. There's just certain actors or actresses that I've just never clicked with. Never really liked.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to figure out why. And DiCaprio's always been on that list.
Fair enough. I'll give you that, man. Well, and I think that's the beauty about this is that this kind of discussion, because there are always going to be characters and actors that we like and disagree on. And I think that's always been the beauty of this podcast for you and me.
Oh, yeah. Well, what do you guys at home think? What are some of your favorite and least favorite actors? What are your thoughts on DiCaprio? We'd love to hear that as well. Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Play, or YouTube. And as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.